I thought I knew the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, until I found out she was sharing my bed with someone I considered family. What I uncovered after that was even worse. I never thought I'd be the one telling a story like this, but I need to get it off my chest. Maybe someone listening will understand what I went through, or even avoid going through the same thing. My story is about betrayal. The kind that blindsides you, that rips your heart out and makes you question absolutely everything you thought you knew about the people you love. My name is Marcos, I'm 34 years old, and until recently, I thought I had the perfect life, a stable relationship, wedding plans on the horizon, and a tight circle of friends and family who supported me. At least, that's what I believed. My girlfriend's name is Laura. We'd been together for almost 6 years, and from the very beginning, everything seemed to fall into place. We met in college, me in engineering, her in business administration. She was the kind of girl who turned heads without even trying. She had this easy smile, this energy that filled every room. I was the quiet type, more of an observer than a talker. But with her, everything flowed naturally. We didn't take long to become official, and over time we built what I thought was a solid relationship. We shared goals, dreams, even talked about having kids someday. About a year ago, we had even started saving for the wedding. I honestly believed I was with the woman who would become my wife. Through it all, one of the biggest supporters of our relationship was my cousin, Javier. He and I grew up practically like brothers. From childhood vacations to soccer games to family gatherings, we were inseparable. Javier was my age but always more outgoing, the type of guy everyone liked instantly. When he met Laura, they clicked right away too. And I was happy about that, because it meant the two most important parts of my life, my family and my girlfriend, got along. In fact, it became normal for Javier to tag along with us on dinners, outings, even short weekend trips. It never bothered me. Quite the opposite, I loved it. To me, it felt like my circle was complete. If someone had ever suggested I should be careful, I would have laughed in their face. For years, everything seemed perfect. But about a year ago, I started noticing little things. Small details that, at first, I brushed aside. Like, sometimes I'd walk into a room and Laura would quickly lock her phone, almost too fast. She'd laugh it off, saying it was just boring work chats she didn't want me to see. And while it didn't sit right with me, I chose to trust her. As for Javier, he started dropping by my place more often than usual, even when I wasn't home. I'd come back from work and he'd casually mention that he'd stopped by to hang out with Laura because he was in the neighborhood. And I thought, well, he's my cousin. I trust him. And if he and Laura get along, isn't that a good thing? But these little signals piled up. Nothing was concrete, but enough to spark a nagging discomfort I couldn't shake. The turning point came one Friday. I'd been given the afternoon off at work, and I decided to surprise Laura. I picked up her favorite dessert on the way and walked into the apartment, smiling to myself. As soon as I opened the door, I heard laughter in the living room. I figured she must have invited a friend over. But when I peeked around the corner, there they were, Laura and Javier, sitting way too close on the couch, staring at something on her phone. At first, my brain struggled to process it. On the surface, it looked innocent enough. But the way they moved, the closeness between them, it was wrong. Laura jumped up the second she saw me, like a kid caught doing something bad. Javier, on the other hand, played it cool, stood up, gave me a big hug, and said, "Hey, cousin. Didn't know you'd be home so early." Laura quickly chimed in that they'd just been looking at some old photos, that Javier had only stopped by for a bit. And even though my gut screamed otherwise, I swallowed my doubts. I didn't want to believe what I'd just seen. But from that day forward, the seed of suspicion took root. I noticed Laura putting more effort into her appearance on days she claimed she was meeting a friend. I noticed Javier canceling our plans last minute with flimsy excuses, only for him to conveniently show up in the same area where Laura had said she'd be. Piece by piece, it felt like a horrible puzzle was forming right before my eyes. Finally, I did something I'd sworn I'd never do. I went through Laura's phone. I know it's wrong, trust is the foundation of a relationship, but the doubt was eating me alive. One night while she slept, I grabbed her phone. It had a lock pattern, but I'd seen her do it enough times to figure it out. And right there at the top of her chats, pinned, was one that read, Javi Redheart. My heart sank. I opened it, and there it was. The truth. Message after message. Some playful, others, intimate. I miss you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. What we did today was amazing. Never felt like this before. It felt like someone had ripped the floor out from under me. Not just betrayal, but betrayal from both of them. The woman I wanted to marry, and the cousin I considered my brother. I kept scrolling, even though every word cut me deeper. I saw them coordinating lies, planning excuses for me, even joking about how clueless I was. But the worst? One message from Laura that read. Sometimes I feel bad for Marcos, but with you, I feel alive. That line shattered me. I closed the phone and locked myself in the bathroom. I couldn't even look at her. I didn't sleep that night. Or the night after. For days, I went on autopilot. Pretending everything was fine, trying to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to scream, to confront them right then and there. But another part of me knew I needed to think, to plan. Eventually, I confronted Laura first. I told her straight up I'd looked through her phone and knew everything. She didn't deny it. She just broke down crying. She told me she never meant for things to go that far, that it started innocently, but grew into something more. That she still loved me, but that with Javier she felt this passion that had faded with me. Can you imagine hearing that from the person you love most? It was like someone stabbed me in the chest. I asked how long it had been going on. She lowered her head and whispered. Over a year. A year. 12 months of lies. 12 months of fake kisses, fake hugs, fake plans for a future while they laughed behind my back. While I worked extra hours to save for our wedding, she was sneaking off to see my cousin. I told her it was over. That same night, I packed a bag and went to stay at a friend's place. But I still had one confrontation left, Javier. The next day, I called him to meet me at a cafe. He showed up grinning, like nothing was wrong. But the moment he saw my face, he knew. So all this time, I said, my voice shaking with rage, my cousin, my brother, with the woman I was going to marry. He didn't deny it either. He said it just happened. That at first it was a mistake, but then they realized they had feelings for each other. That they couldn't control it. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to beat some sense into him. But instead, I stood up, walked away, and left him sitting there. Because I realized that no explanation, no excuse, could undo the knife they'd driven into my back. The months after were the hardest of my life. I cycled through every emotion, anger, grief, shame. I even caught myself wondering if I'd done something wrong, if I'd somehow pushed Laura toward him. But therapy and the support of my real friends helped me understand something. Betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. Eventually, word got out to my family. My parents stood by me. But some relatives tried to minimize it, saying things like, the heart doesn't choose who it falls for. That line made my blood boil. Because sure, maybe you can't choose who you're attracted to, but you can choose loyalty. You can choose honesty. They chose deceit. Ironically, their relationship didn't even last. 6 months later, Laura and Javier broke up. Turns out their passion fizzled out once they had to face reality, and the backlash from family. As for me, I started rebuilding. I moved to a new city, got a fresh job, and slowly began learning to trust again. Looking back now, as painful as it was, that betrayal taught me some of the most important lessons of my life. It taught me not to ignore red flags. It taught me that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. And most of all, it taught me that family isn't defined by blood. Real family doesn't stab you in the back. The last time I spoke to Javier was nearly a year ago. He tried to apologize, said he regretted it, didn't want to lose me as a cousin. But some wounds can't be healed with words. I told him I wished him well, but that he no longer had a place in my life. With Laura, I never spoke again. I've heard she moved away and is trying to start over somewhere else. Does it still hurt? Of course. Being betrayed by two people you loved is not something you just get over. But it no longer defines me. It no longer controls my every thought. Because I've learned not to carry guilt that isn't mine. If there's one thing I want anyone listening to take away from this, it's this: trust your gut. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Don't be afraid to face the truth. And remember, losing someone who can betray you isn't really a loss. It's freedom. Today, I'm in a much better place, surrounded by people who respect me, who genuinely care. And though the road here was paved with heartbreak, sleepless nights, and tears, I realized something: sometimes the greatest betrayal is also the greatest chance to start over.